on a sec. Hang on a sec. All righty. Okay. So thank you for joining me on my live Sunday, March 14th. And this is my third one doing it, different setup. I have here on this side is Mr. William. He's back here on the couch here. And I don't know, that's it. Oh, and then Minky. Minky, you can hear him in the background. He's running around. William's history is he's from Mexico. He was left tied up in the backyard, abandoned. A very good rescue brought him up here to Canada. And unfortunately, there's Minky. And unfortunately, what happened for hi Beef Cat. Unfortunately, what happened to William is he had been left out there. There was no water left. He was quite emaciated, and then they brought him up here, and then he had some significant issues with other dogs. The first family that adopted him was told not to introduce him to dogs till at least he was acclimated. Sorry, here's the microphone. I forgot I had a microphone today. I'm sorry. Oops, dog hair. Okay. So let me just try to fix this. Anyhow, let me just fix this here. So what ended up happening is, so sorry about the fur on the microphone. So what ended up happening is William ended up getting into some significant issues with other dogs in the sense that he was, I'm just going to drop this down here, shoot, in the sense that he would try to kill them. And unfortunately, the foster or the adopter just wasn't giving time. And they just rushed him into meeting other dogs. And so that caused a lot of issues. And so he has significant issues. Minky that you can see over here, Minky, see his ears move? That's acknowledgement of communication. We're not looking for the overt, oh, I'm going to look at you. We're looking for the acknowledgement. It's the same thing if you're sitting on the couch and your partner calls you. You're not going to be like, what? You can be like, yeah, right? You're on your It's the same aspect. So we want to look at the diluted perspective of behavior, the nonverbal communication with dogs. So I'm going to do obviously sidebars constantly as things happen and as it comes to me organically, because that's how I learned. And I learned working alone with significant dogs that are 150, 180, 200 pounds almost, who have attacked and attempted to kill people. And, you know, you can see the media stuff. So what I'm saying about that is that we can all learn how to downtrain and stabilize dogs. They're not dogs to be killed. They have psychological issues that are like a child, but really kind of diluted, like really watered down orange juice. So that's how they see things and feel and process. And they can learn because the envelope is there. That soul, their soul is there. The soul of the dog is there, and it can be guided just like a child up to the limitations of evolution, and keeping in mind predation, right? They're predators. We're predators at the end of the day. You know, look, Lincoln, David, always make an acknowledgement. Then it lets both parties know there's something going on, and I'm aware of it. Lincoln, David, come. So then I give David a request to come as a invitation for him to make up on his own mind, and eventually he processes cogently what he wants to do. Minky here, on the other hand, as you can see, he is now alert and concerned about things happening. So here he comes. As I said, you can teach your dog to learn. There he is, cogently how to process. Hello, Mr. David. Hi, silly boy. You're okay. Right? You're okay. So being able to put my head this close to David, as some of you have seen, he was muzzled. He was extremely dangerous. He has 16 attacks on him. That kind of stuff, to have him come this close to me is extremely scary. So it's not me trying to be brave. And there's Minky, so we can have an interaction going, hi, David. Hi, sweet boy. So I'm going to get Minky out. Let's give me a few seconds here. Minky, stop, please. Okay, go, David. Minky. Thank you. So then I make acknowledgement for David's concern on a psychological process. He's afraid to cross in front of Minky, regardless if David is almost 200 pounds and Minky's 45, 55 pounds. Psychologically, like a child, he's afraid to cross the hot burning lava in case he falls in and gets hurt, which is Minky. So the danger is there in that concept. See, you see this aspect? So he came to me just now. He pressed against me to reassure himself that everything was okay. If I started to act erratically or behave physically, then he would feel there was something wrong. And then David would go, oh, shoot, what's going on? He would be alert with Minky. And as you can see now, Minky has deliberately attempted to not establish position or alpha, which is a ridiculous perspective, but he has learned to say, I want attention by getting close to you, and I get attention. Hello, silly boy. So you can see how big David is, and I'm very, very scared at all times, especially when it comes to resource guarding. So I control my breathing. I do all these things. So I don't recommend anyone to do this, but these are the dogs I work with. Hello, Mr. David. So now in this situation, because for David, the invitation for me to play with David is not there. I already know this. That's why I'm so scared of him, is that when I turn around, that he may come at me because he has his toy. See? And he knows his toy. See, he understands objectification. He understands phrasing of objectification because I've taught him context. I've taught his ability to cogently process at his level, just like we would teach a child. So what I'm doing is not magic or incredible. I'm just teaching him how we would teach a child. And a lot of my clients, CEOs, multinationals, I've worked with people that are just way, way smarter than I could ever even like, wow, you guys are freaking brilliant, to people who are just regular. And it all comes out to the same process of understanding a simplicity of saying, well, my gosh, if a dangerous dog is dangerous, why are they dangerous? Because of fear. Okay, then we break it down from what that fear is, and we can kind of, upstream it, destructure to where that dysfunction started from. So we want to figure out what was the cause of his dysfunctions, then we can go from there. So for him to come over to me and play with a toy is A-okay, because it's his initiative. It's his self-esteem building. For me to let David come this close to me, or even this close, and sit with him as a toy, because I'm literally, and I'll just show you here, right? I'm going to see how he kind of turned his head when I moved my hand over there. So I'm literally on the edge of my couch because I'm that scared. So on my end, I'm also psychologically prepared in my head to be attacked from behind in case I make an incorrect move that he does not understand as a normal physical behavior on my end. He knows how I act. So if I do something differently, he may then himself become like, okay, why are you acting suspiciously? Which is the same thing when we see somebody coming up to us. If you bring your partner roses or chocolates or a gift, you hide it behind your back and you act kind of differently. See, that's another part there. I'm always moving back and working the area so he understands that I have a little bit more frantic behavior. See that? He watches me again to see what I'm doing. Fortunately, because I'm seeing him in the camera, I can see him glancing at me. So then I maintain my position after David leaves on purpose, right? So here's my position still. And he comes back to revisit me because now he wants to get an engagement with a toy on his self-esteem initiative. But again, if he doesn't come back, then I'm going to move and reset myself onto the seat. But I'm not going to move right away after he leaves in case he thinks I'm doing something. So we want to keep that in perspective of his history. He's had multiple owners. Not three owners. He was with two different trainers. One was a well-known canine police dog trainer with fancy 4x4s and all that stuff that he shows off, who used alpha and prong collar and shock collar training, caused him to submit to other dogs. I can tell that in his behavior. We can tell that when we go around somebody and they kind of flinch. We're like, whoa, why, wow, there's something going on. Same thing, we can tell that in context of his behavior if we, the human beings, are dog woke, if we are aware of what's going on. So that's why I can work with these dogs without medication or treats, because I'm watching what they do. And so can you. It's teachable what I do, 100%. There's no BS, and it's free. I'm doing this literally for free. My work is getting some review from some academic aspects of it, but I'm doing this not because I'm trying to be great or anything. I'm doing this to prove that every dog, no matter how dangerous or dysfunctional, have been psychologically damaged and they can be helped instead of being killed. So that's worth saving 6 million dogs out of over 100 million dogs in North America. That's 6 million dogs being killed. Sure as heck worth giving it away for free if it saves a few lives. So that's what we got to have perspective and compassion on a human aspect, and it's got to come from our visceral sense. And that visceral sense comes from our psychological evolution of dependency, right? Codependency, right? We want to procreate and all that stuff. That comes from that point. Well, then we better make sure that we see all our species. There's David, so he made a growl. David, you're okay. I'm going to make an acknowledgement for him. We want to understand that throughout the whole species and all the different species, that everything all equates to similarities in psychological processing because we have similar brain structure mapping. So that consciousness that happens. So I'm going back there. There is David. So you can see he's a rather large boy. And so he's playing with toys here. And then there's William, who kind of is that withdrawn aspect of it. And the other part about David was that he, for 2 years, was on 80 milligrams of Prozac. Normally, you would give somebody 60 milligrams in a hospital for an adult human. And he started on when he was about 6 months. And then on top of that was 750 milligrams of trazodone on top of it. Instead of about 600 would be for an adult human patient. So you can imagine that caused a lot of issues. There's side effects. You read up on it. I had to Google it. Serotonin syndrome, issues of, obviously organ issues. So he's going to have a short life, especially after 2 years of excessive medication. That was recommended by the trainer. See that? Not even a vet. A trainer recommended the dosage. And then the vet went, okay, let's keep upping it up. Then if the trainer, who's so well known, says to do so. So the power is contrived and the victim is voiceless. So that's my advocacy on that part, and I'll continue to do that. I'll continue to share what's going on with these pups here. And I want to go over last week's live, and I'm going to just basically keep building up on things. And then I'm going to talk to you and start building up stuff about ideas that I have in regards to patent aspects of artificial intelligence. I know it's going to sound kind of like the guy's crazy, whatever, but I'm talking about the aspect of how consciousness was created through the biological compartmentalization of the false positive. In other words, biology creates what mechanical can't create. So, when you go 1 + 1 = 2, that's a computer. There's absolutely no way you can ever say 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. Whereas biology can compartmentalize it and create a cell that can carry that decision, that false positive, the infinite within the finite between 0 and 1, off and on. So that part is that biology is going to structure through, stream at that high speed of framing that our minds process, and then we have evolution, and then we build up the diluted perspective of psychology through evolution, right? Because how the brain develops means how we process psychology, emotions, cognition, cogency, and that structure at our evolutional scale, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of millions of years ago. So then that way we have a comprehension of the psychology of our brain. So I'll talk about that later on and other things, and I'll get into some really deep stuff regards to it and some of the things that I've kind of shared with some of the academics. So at the end of the day, we want to be able to understand the behavior that dogs are doing and why they're doing it. So we see right here, this one over here. Oops. Okay. Well, okay. This one over here, the white one, and this is Sammy. You can hear in the background. So this white one is constantly watching this big one. So what the case is the point of attention from me. So if I seek attention or give attention to one of them, the other one will want to have attention. So it's an insecurity, it's a self-esteem issue. It's a slight aspect of introversion on Minky's end, and on David's end, it's a point of irritation and insecurity of what goes on. The fidgeting on his behavior while doing nothing. Whereas with Minky on his end, he's watching for the next move. So those of you who have Jindos, especially, so Minky's from Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation. You can check out his links, check out the amazing videos. Down training a dog that nobody could in LA for 4 months deal with. And these guys have rescued over 20,000 dogs, and they've been on, Cesar Milan and stuff like that. Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation, and they failed to be able to progress Minky. You see in the videos, I'm addressing Minky from the first point where he's trying to attack me from his feces-covered cage to the point of getting him home on my bed and working with him by tone of voice, conduct, all these parts. Even when David was behind me and I was frightened to death, my voice is still the same because I'm always using a regular tone of voice so that they understand. When I'm talking on narration or commentary, I change my tone of voice so they don't hear me talking in the regular voice that I talk to them or on the phone. Whenever I talk to my dogs, I always talk in a regular tone of voice. I don't talk in a high-pitched tone of voice. I don't talk in a silly tone of voice yet, not yet. I wait till they hear the establishment of my voice on a regular, like, hey, how's it going? Like that. Hey, hi, silly guys. Hi, silly boy. And I'll say their names like that, like just talking on the phone. So they hear context. They hear their name. They learn their name by hearing it at a single use at all times. And we can call people's names, right? We got a friend of ours walking down the street and want to get their attention. It's like, John, 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 right? We're like that. And then we say, oh, go down to the end of the street, turn left. And they go to the right instead. We're like, John, 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 right? We can hear what other person saying. We hear it and we say it in our voice. It's just tone, just like the bark. So we do the same establishment there by talking in a regular tone of voice. So then your dog hears regular tone of voice and they start to learn to hear for their names. So that's why when the big guy is looking at me, hearing his voice, when this white one here, the white one, when I said his name in the beginning, his left ear tweaked. So these are things you got to watch at all times. You got to watch it peripherally. You got to watch it like you're a ninja. And the benefit about that is when you do that, your own brain speeds back up to your instinctual level of processing. So I have an okay sense of IQ. My youngest brother has 166 IQ. My other brother has 152 IQ, and they're smarter than me. But processing wise, they're not there. They have to, let me figure it out. Whereas I can take things, maybe it's because of my lower level of intelligence relative, but I process it, boom, 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 boom. We put the pieces together like finding clues to a mystery of psychology. Like your friend phones you up and says, oh my gosh, I'm having trouble with my girlfriend. You say, well, what's going on? And we put it together. We find out who's making silly mistakes and who isn't. And then we go, there's some reasoning. So then when we work with our dogs, we do the same point where we want to approach them that they understand, like, okay, what we're talking to them is reasonable. Our voice, what we're saying to them is normal. So that if there's an issue that's a problem, we're still using our regular voice. If we're irritated with somebody, we'll say, all right, John, right? We don't go, and we don't use a different high voice and the play voice or the prey. It elicits prey driving your dog when you get too high a pitch of a voice, and then they can't think straight because now their focus is, okay, great, I go back to my default behavior. But we want dogs to understand if we talk to them in a regular voice, the same voice we use with everybody, they go, okay, I can hear and listen for my name, and I know who I am. And when they're talking on the phone, when my humans are talking on the phone, it's normal. So I don't have to jump over and go, right? Because some people, we get on the phone and our dog's jumping all over us. It's the same part because they hear a different tone of voice, because they hear you talking to somebody. And your dog's like, oh, who's there? And then they go, oh, engagement. And then they hear the tone, which they recall back to your play voice. And then your dog goes, oh, okay, cool. We're playing. Wait a minute. Okay, what? And we're always on our phone. So it doesn't seem any different for us to be on our phone talking to our dogs. So it's all circular because it all makes sense because it's really super simple. There's David. Hi, David. Hi, silly boy. You see that? Hi, silly boy. Hi, David. Acknowledgement. He heard something, saw my hand up. I stopped moving my hand on purpose, and he looked for further engagement on my body behavior. Here he comes. Hello, silly boy. Engagement, right? Context brings that in. Self-esteem. I'm too afraid to come up to you for affection, codependent behavior. So I'm going to use something as obfuscation, redirection, misdirection, and deliberate engagement that I know you're going to do, right? So he's almost 200 pounds. So we're going to hold on to the thing here. And you can see the behavior that goes on, right? So here we go. So he's going to pull me off. David, okay. Hi, silly boy. So I'm going to put this up. I'm just going to disconnect the microphone. So it's going to sound kind of